So let's do the thing. You know, the thing where we actually do Google President Bush plus immigration and see what comes up. A little trip to the early 2000s. Doesn't that sound fun? Maybe we'll Google Strong Bad or that Badger song next, but mostly it's gonna be the atrocity stuff, I'm sorry. Anywho, upon arriving in office, Bush's first major legislative proposal was a guest worker program that temporarily allowed people with proof of employment to remain in the US, but didn't include a pathway to citizenship, and was roundly criticized as unsafe for immigrant workers, basically turning them into a permanent underclass. But, on the other hand, the portraits. No part of this worker program, of course, would do anything for the refugees currently arriving at our southern border. You know, the immigrants who were too busy escaping economic crises or devastating wars that were perhaps maybe kinda caused by the American government, and darn it, just didn't have the time to phone ahead and hook up a part-time gig at the local Aaron Brothers. Or Michael's, depending on the region. They're art supply stores. Continuing on, and the Bush administration's big push for immigration reform culminated in the Secure Borders, Economic Opportunity and Immigration Reform Act of 2007, which would have provided a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants by creating a Z visa program that would give a probationary legal status. As a compromise, it significantly increased funding for security at the US-Mexico border, including, you guessed it, 370 miles of additional fencing. The bill also would have introduced a so-called merit-based system for immigration moving forward. And yet, despite all this compromise with Republicans, the bill died in the Senate at 46 to 53 votes. And, oh hey, it looks like 38 of the votes against were from Bush's own party. Then Bush, facing historically low poll numbers, gave up on immigration reform entirely. In his final 2008 State of the Union address, he took credit for building more fences at the border and ending the so-called catch and release program for migrants attempting to enter the US, while, in fairness, reminding people that maybe we should make it easier for migrants to work in the US.
We're increasing worksite enforcement, deploying fences and advanced technologies to stop illegal crossings. We've effectively ended the policy of catch and release at the border. And by the end of this year, we will have doubled the number of Border Patrol agents. Yet we also need to acknowledge that we will never fully secure our border until we create a lawful way for foreign workers to come here and support our economy.
If that sounds familiar, I mean, minus the last part, it's because they are also the Trump administration's policies. Like, exactly. In fact, Trump was a huge fan of the Bush-era framing of merit-based immigration. Talked about it all the time, at least when he wasn't talking about, like, not being able to flush his toilet, how fuckable his daughter is, defending birds from wind turbines, which he calls windmills, this.
Rick Perry, watch him. He's a comer.
This is the actual record. So it's kind of frustrating and awful and maddening and fourth thing that the guy behind that record is now going on TV pretending to be some visionary thinker or grounded voice of reason or even just a charmingly eccentric goofball who can laugh at himself.
Now I have to say, I was very proud of you for dodging those shoes when it happened, because it's like, you have very good reflexes. My guess is that Laura had done that before.
Ha 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 ha. Fun stuff. You know how Bush had a shoe thrown at him because of all the war and death he caused? And then the journalist who threw the shoe was beaten, dragged out, and later tortured while in prison? Funny stuff. How he dodged the shoe and it's like, his wife is mad at him. You get it? How when that man who was mad about all the war crimes threw a shoe at him, it was like his wife or something? Do you get it? You get it, right? The fact we're circling here is that on the major issues of the day, there is barely daylight between the Bush-Cheney years and the Trump-McConnell era. And what separation there is largely just comes down to tone. Old G to the WB didn't go on TV and directly say that all Mexicans are coming to America specifically and exclusively for the purposes of violent sexual assault. He left that part to the imagination. Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Here's the evergreen end plate to ask you to like and subscribe. It's any day of the year where you are.